But Dazed and Confused, when I watch it, it feels like it's the perfect portrayal of teen life in American neighborhoods, of just partying, having fun with your friends. What's up, bros? Welcome back to the show. James and I grew up watching stoner films. They were some of our favorites as kids, even though they were a little bit out of our age range.
The older brothers, they show you like Half-Baked when you're a kid and stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. Stoner films are so great and embedded in film culture, especially in the comedy genre. And I really love a lot of them so much. I can't wait to talk about them.
Yeah, it's a subgenre of comedy. There's not really many stoner movies that are serious comedies or serious dramas. I guess like Outside Providence is kind of like a dramedy that has a lot of, marijuana usage and recreational smoking inside that film.
They smoke the reefer.
Part of the plot, the changing of times. I would say that's kind of like one of the rare dramas that you could classify as a stoner film. But we love stoner movies, and even though we no longer partake in the devil's lettuce.
I do from time to time.
Despite the fact that the set is smoked out. We got the fog machine from when we made our short
Yeah, we
film,
didn't do this.
And we smoked this. We hotboxed this entire room. I can't even see it.
I can't even see the camera.
The haze is just, I just see the red lights. That's it.
Yeah, we used to be little stoner kids back in when we
High
were
school,
younger.
yeah.
We were little stoner kids. But now the
GPA slipped for a couple of years.
Now I just partake in it. Every once in a couple months, if it's around, I'll just just one here and there. But
I don't partake
not regularly.
But I consume CBD, which has none of the psychoactive ingredients from THC inside of it, but is part of the cannabis plant. And, there's a decent amount of research that say there are lots of benefits to CBD or CBD oils, specifically helping people sleep better, which is why I take CBD gummies, as well as reducing anxiety and depression. And, obviously, there needs to still be a lot of research done, but I think it's a huge market right now for CBD. Clearly, It's been booming the last couple of years, not to mention the decriminalization and legality of cannabis and marijuana all over the world. It's been changing so rapidly. I mean, in California, where we live in Los Angeles, you can literally just walk down the street. All you need is to be 21 years or older, and you can buy marijuana straight up, weed.
It's funny, in LA, there are actual billboards for weed all over the place.
And apps, like they'll deliver weed to your door today.
Yeah, but you'll just see it used to just be movie and TV billboards, but now it's like weed billboards. It's pretty funny to see how the times changed just in a couple of years. But stoner movies, they aren't just goofy, silly comedies. They have some really great directors behind some of them. Paul Thomas Anderson made Inherent Vice. The Coen brothers made The Big Lebowski. Richard Linklater made possibly the best teen movie of all time with Dazed and Confused. So there are some really heavyweight directors who have made stoner films.
Not to mention that they're just so enjoyable, whether or not you smoke weed or not. I think even though I don't smoke weed anymore, I still enjoy the hell out of a good stoner movie. Like Pineapple Express, I think, is like the peak of the mountain for stoner films. And that came out a few years after I quit smoking weed, as well as This Is the End is a stoner movie that I love. But all these movies, I've only watched half the movies on this list since I quit smoking weed, and I still love every single one. And I think, I can relate to the characters and the moments and the silly situations that these characters get themselves in. Usually in every stoner film, there's a ridiculous plot, something wild's going on or something goofy, but I still relate to them. I still find them funny. They're great for the most part, just shutting your brain off and watching and having a blast. And I just love stoner films. And we're classifying stoner films as, not necessarily a movie just to watch when you're high or stoned, but where marijuana usage and marijuana has a main plot device on the story in the characters, or is smoked consistently throughout the film. Whereas something, some movies don't have a ton of smoking involved that some people consider stoner films that I don't 100% put in that realm.
I feel like you got to be smoking in the movie for
a good amount.
Yeah.
And also movies, there are misconceptions of movies that actually aren't stoner films that people think are. Like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure is not a stoner movie. They do not smoke weed in that movie. They never are shown smoking, but that's on a bunch of lists.
They totally do.
Keanu Reeves came out saying that Bill and Ted aren't stoners. They're just very radical dudes with great personalities
really?
and very positive outlooks on life.
Oh,
so
interesting.
That's a movie that's always cropping up on best stoner movie lists where when you watch them, like, where's the weed smoking? They're just silly guys having a good time.
That's a great point.
Wild Stallions.
Wild Stallions. And I'm trying to think of, it's been a while since there was a recent really good one. The Night Before with Rogan, Mackie, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt was, I think, the last really good one.
That's pretty good, but that's more technically of a holiday movie than anything.
Yeah,
than
but
a stoner
it is a
movie.
stoner movie.
Yeah,
though.
there's plenty.
They smoke a ton in
there's
that.
plenty of stoning in that movie.
But we, like, some of our most rewatched movies as kids were stoner movies. Like Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. I couldn't tell you how many times we watched that with our friends.
Friday
Friday
after
oh,
next.
Oh my God.
Next Friday.
These were just so many views in our household, and then
Knocked
go to
Up.
friends' houses.
Knocked Up, I've seen a lot.
Dude, Where's My Car? That was a big one. Dude, Where's My Car was huge. We watched that a ton. Dazed and Confused, we didn't really start watching until we were like interested in film. Half Baked with Dave Chappelle and Jim Brewer. That was a great one that our brothers loved to show us.
I feel like that was on like TV a lot too.
Yeah, Cheech and Chong. Oh yeah.
Well, Cheech and Chong.
You know what's a good one? Super Troopers.
Super Troopers.
Yeah,
that's a movie
that was very rewatched in our
I
household.
guess you could say it's a stoner movie for sure because
Some of them do.
Some of them,
Yeah,
they smoke
in the opening scene.
Yeah, and marijuana.
He can't pull over. He's already pulled over.
The schnozberries taste like schnozberries. Okay, that's a stoner movie.
Meow. Listen here. That's a stoner movie.
Okay, that 100% is. I just haven't seen it in a while.
It's so
yeah,
good.
That's a stoner movie, especially the fact that marijuana is a main plot device for that film where there's the big drug busts of the marijuana that's being sold, right?
Yeah.
In that movie.
Yeah. But also, sometimes they turn to franchises. Like Harold and Kumar turned into a franchise. I prefer stoner movies if they're just standalone. Like Pineapple Express. I didn't want any other Pineapple Express movies. I'm sure the studio was asking them to do it because it made a lot of money. But it's the kind of genre where I feel like it's stronger without sequels. Because even Next Friday it's not the same as Friday.
No Chris Tucker.
Yeah, it's not even close. And so I'm not a fan of franchising the stoner genre.
I concur, although I really respect the hell out of what Cheech and Chong did. So
that's true.
Cheech Marin and Tommy Chong with their saga of movies. They made like 6 or 7 movies of their characters, Cheech and Chong. I have a list of them. So yeah, they were a comedy duo. They met in British Columbia and Vancouver in Canada, and they made Up in Smoke in 1978 was their first stoner movie.
You know they're in After Hours, Martin Scorsese's movie?
Yeah, they actually got a bunch of cameos in movies, but they're both in After Hours. You're right. So Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong's next movie, which is probably the best, those two. Nice Dreams, Things Are Tough All Over, Still Smoking, Cheech and Chong's The Corsican Brothers, Get Out of My Room, and Cheech and Chong's animated movie. So these guys, they just made such a huge franchise of just stoner movies, kickback movies. Also, some of these have a lot of music infused in them because they're also a performing musical duo as well as a comedic duo. And I respect the hell out of making, what was that, 7 movies or 8 movies
a lot, yeah.
out of your stoner characters. That's fantastic stuff right there.
I'm trying to remember, was Ali G in the house? Was that do they smoke in that movie?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Ali
okay.
G in the house is
Yes,
a stoner
I thought
movie.
so, yeah.
That's one of my favorites for sure.
We watched a ton as kids.
The TV show was great, but the Ali G in the house movie, so In the House, was the movie he made, the first one of the 3 characters, because then he did Bruno, then he did Borat. But Ali G in the house was hysterical because Ali G is just a stoner from just the middle of the UK somewhere and just thinks he's a gangster, and it's just so funny. And
Booyakasha.
the things that guy
We
says.
used to the stuff.
Martin Freeman's in that movie too.
Yeah. The opening that definitely is a stoner comedy. They do a lot. Yeah, and that movie is so ridiculous. Like with the stuff we watched as kids was insane. I can't believe this sometimes when I look back.
Isn't there a scene where he's trying to like get on a plane or cross borders and he's arrested, but then he has like his buddies come in like Martin Freeman, like we as here as experts.
Yeah.
They smoke all the weed.
Oh my God. That movie is insane. I can't believe actually our parents didn't know we were watching it.
It's HBO. Hey, it's all good, man. They didn't know what was going down there.
But then a movie like Easy Rider, which is considered obviously a classic and a new kind of film for American cinema in terms of it lacking a plot and really expressing the kind of wayward vagabond that was very frowned upon in American culture and centering an entire movie around it. And that's definitely a stoner movie, but it's highly respected in the history of movies. And it's a terrific film if you haven't seen it. It really is like the epitome of living free and just going to your own, beating to your own drum and just following wherever the road takes you, wherever the wind takes you.
Plus an absolutely stacked cast
Yeah.
of actors in that movie. But the acceptance of marijuana, ironically, in recent years has led to like way fewer movies about weed and smoking culture, which is kind of interesting because the last great ones are like Pineapple Express, as well as This Is the End. This is the End. That's 2011, I believe. Pineapple Express was 2008. I'm sure, obviously.
Ted in 2012.
Okay, Ted.
But still very old. That's
Ted
10
are
years
recent
old.
and Ted 2, for sure. But in terms of how much it's accepted now, I feel like it's lost a bit of its storytelling, like cojones, like like the mythos of like weed culture and how much fun it was to tell a story about something that was illegal versus now it's so legal and everyone does it and it's easy to access. Are the stories as interesting with like drug dealers and stuff like that? But I still think that Pineapple Express was something that I think will always be a timeless great comedy despite the fact that weed's become legal. But I wonder if there's some sort of correlation with the fact that the decriminalization of cannabis, as well as like less movies about cannabis and about weed and maybe vaping culture, and how much the culture of weed has changed, where now it's not just smoking some buds in a bowl anymore, rolling a J or a Blizz.
Whoa, you look at the term. What a pro! Listen to this guy.
I've rolled a few Blizzes, kid.
You rolled one for the movie.
I did. Look, I rolled a roach. That was complicated. I had to roll a pre-smoked roach, which is like the end of a blunt, and it was artistic. It was beautiful. That was art.
It was perfect.
There's a lot of saliva.
I was like, someone do this. I can't do it.
A lot of saliva was involved.
Bobby still smoked it.
It's the best way to do it. But what was I just saying? Oh, but it's changed so much where now we're seeing marijuanas being used with vapes and vapors, whatever those cartridges are full of, the weed oils, and I don't know the terminology. I've never vaped before, as well as like I was bringing up earlier, gummies and now foods and weed butter and all the different kinds of products and ways that you can consume THC. It's changed so much where it's not so much only about smoking the reefer, bruh. It's changed.
You're absolutely right, because there aren't really any stoner movies getting made at all. And it used to be pretty common in the 2010s, 2000s. I suppose it has to do with, film goes through its ups and downs, and there will be a certain genre that will be hot. And stoner comedy was hot in the 2000s. It was so hot in early 2010s. And it seems as though it's done. And maybe my guess is that box office wasn't good for a lot of these films. I know that the Harold and Kumar movies never did very well. A lot of these films that were coming out in the 2010s, later 2010s, all seem to have pretty bad box offices. So perhaps studios were like, yeah, we're not going to invest in this genre anymore. We're also bringing that kind of goofy humor into big budget movies now. That comedy was only with those movies, and now we're getting, similar kind of comedy in comic book movies. They're not stoner movies, but they're not smoking weed, but it's the same kind of vibe in comedy a lot of times. And so I think also because so many people are getting their comedy fix in big budget superhero movies, maybe they're not even making those movies anymore.
Maybe the studios don't want to make weed movies anymore. Maybe they're afraid of doing it because of the stigma against it that still
but
may
they did it
linger.
for so long.
But it still might linger with a lot of audiences. I mean, now that Disney owns every studio on the planet, maybe they don't want to...
Oh, that's also a good point. Disney owning a lot of studios might have...
after they bought 20th Century Fox...
They might just be like, no, nothing with drugs at all.
Minimal, unless it's like something to do with a drama or a rated R film.
That's a good point.
Because I remember even recently, American Ultra, that came out in 2015?
Yeah.
That's a cool movie. Kristen Wiig and Jesse Eisenberg.
Kristen Stewart.
Maybe I did smoke a little reefer tonight.
The smoke's getting to you, man.
Completely different Kristen. So Kristen Stewart and Jesse Eisenberg. Jesse Eisenberg just plays a stoner deadbeat, but then he realizes he was trained by the CIA. So he's basically like the whole MK Ultra experiments. Like, what if that was like put onto a stoner and he gets like these super spy abilities and he has to save him and his girlfriend. I thought that was a fun movie, and that's a pretty recent stoner film for 2015.
The Night Of was also 2015.
But still 8 years ago, both of those. The Night Of is that old? Holy
2015.
Crap.
We're getting old, man.
That's, oh my goodness.
That's what I'm talking about. Like, in terms of what was the last really good stoner movie, I think The Night Of was it, because after 2015, I can't find...
What about Seth Rogen movies? What's he been doing lately besides the
in the
Fablemans?
2010s, late 2010s, he's been doing a lot more producing And Neighbors isn't a stoner comedy. He was in Neighbors.
Okay.
And Neighbors 2, but those aren't stoner comedies. Those are party comedies.
What's that movie with Jason Sudeikis and what's her name? God.
What's she in?
You're gonna make fun of Friends, Rachel.
Jennifer
Aniston.
The Breakup?
No, and they have
We're
the
the
kids.
Millers.
We're the Millers. Isn't there a stoner element to that
2013.
movie?
Yeah. That's a
Okay.
stoner comedy, but
Yeah.
that was 2013. So that was even older.
Wow, I can't even think of a stoner movie that's come out in the last 5 years.
I can't think of any either. And I mean, we talked about this with comedies, how comedies are really just ending up on streaming now. And the caliber of comedy movies is kind of diminished in a lot of ways. And it used to be like laugh out loud, but now you're getting that comedy in Marvel movies, in a lot of TV series nowadays. And it seems as though both the stoner genre and the comedy genre have dwindled out. And I suppose there isn't really a place for them anymore on their own.
I guess you could say that. What's the one with Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart? Is that
the Netflix
Me
one?
Time? Is that what that's called?
That's not a stoner comedy.
It's not a stoner comedy.
No, I
Okay.
watched it. It was
they made How High too.
So it's a funny story. I watched that High. It was like 6 months ago. It was my friend and I, who I was watching it, we turned it off after 30 minutes because it was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. It was so bad. It was terrible. And I was high, and I was like, I don't want to ruin this experience with this movie.
Yeah, I'm really hard. Like How High 2 in 2019, but I mean,
You know which one I
that.
liked was with Josh Peck, where he's the weed dealer with Olivia Thirlby. What's that movie called? That one was really great.
Josh Peck, Olivia Thirlby in a movie that was called The Whackness.
The Whackness. I remember.
That's 2008.
I remember really liking that. I know that was.
Yeah,
I knew
remember
that.
this
I knew
movie.
that was older, but I remember really liking it because I think. Well, I was like,
Oh,
we were like
yeah.
17 when it came out, so
I thought he was gonna blow up in independent film after that.
he
Josh
never
Peck.
did. He never
'Cause
did.
I thought he was great. And Olivia blew up from that movie.
Yeah, she's kind. They both haven't really exploded. They both never really kept rising because she did Dread with Carl Urban,
Which was awesome.
and then he did The Whackness, and then he did, I think, some TV, but then nothing for both of them really.
She had a great couple years because before The Whackness, she was in Juno.
Yes, she was. She played Juno's friend. Yeah, with the hamburger phone.
My phone's a hamburger. Was that Juno's phone or was it her phone?
I think it was Juno's phone. I'm guessing.
She was in a movie with John Krasinski. Yeah, she's been in a bunch of movies, but I thought after Dread in 2012 that she was just gonna pop.
It's because
she still works a lot,
No,
obviously.
yeah. She's been. I'm just talking. I thought because we were watching her growing up. Same thing with Peck, and I thought she was going to have a pretty big rise into big stardom. She's obviously still a very good working actor, but she never hit what I thought she was going to hit. But that's what happens when you have a big budget movie flop like Dread did. You don't get those calls again.
You know,
You kind of get a one shot kind of deal most of the
for
time.
the leading roles.
Yeah.
Because you know what she's in 2023?
What?
Oppenheimer.
Yes, and it only worked out for Carl Urban because he was already doing Star Trek.
Yeah.
So he was already in a huge, big budget franchise. So that was like a safety net for him, even though Dread failed. So
Dread's awesome too,
If
though.
Carl Urban, if that was his first big leading role, Dread, he would have probably lost a ton of future work because of it. But he had the blanket of Star Trek going for him.
Yeah, because then he turned that into just being recognized by audiences around the world and then getting The Boys, which is a huge job for him,
Yeah.
which is so cool. And it's interesting how drugs are like still used as thematic elements in a lot of films, whether it's weed or not, because clearly Compound V is in that, and even in Dread has a drug compound that's main theme of the film as well.
The Beach Bum, Harmony Korine's film, was the last major one, but it wasn't that good. With Matthew McConaughey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remember
yeah.
that? Remember that trailer with Zac Efron's in
Yeah.
it. Jonah Hill's in it. He's very good, but it was kind of just like it was just a very weird movie. It was pretty good, but
But I'm pretty sure it bombed the box office, didn't it?
it did horrible.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg is in it though.
Snoop's been in a lot of stoner
Yeah.
films.
But it's a funny story. So McConaughey, he is obviously a famous stoner with him and his pal Woody Harrelson. They're super famous, like buddies and stoners. But obviously, he's a very professional guy. When he's working, he would never smoke weed, even though he's playing a super wild weed smoking hippie in that film. And so he was just always smoking herbal tobacco or whatever, not really smoking weed for the scenes. But then Snoop Dogg, he was sharing a scene with Snoop Dogg, and Snoop Dogg accidentally, secretly sneaked him real weed, and they were doing the scene together. And McConaughey apparently realized halfway that he was getting high. He's like, "Snoop, did you put real weed in this?"
That's such a Snoop thing to do. But Snoop's obviously in a bunch of great stoner movies. Soul Plane's great, but even Starsky and Hutch is kind of not really a stoner movie, but he does smoke weed in that movie because I think Snoop smokes weed in a lot of the movies he's in.
It's probably a contractual obligation when he signs on.
I love his character in Starsky and Hutch, Huggy Bear.
Oh my God, it's so funny. Yeah.
I know a lot about grass. You know a lot about golf. No, but I know a lot about grass.
I feel like Ben Stiller and Owen Wilson are a great pair that I'd love to see them do something again.
I would love to see a
Because
Starsky and
Zoolander
Hutch
2,
too.
I try to erase Zoolander 2 from my mind.
Zoolander's a classic. Starsky and Hutch is
It's
phenomenal.
very good. It's very good.
I really regret forgetting to put it on our best comedies of the 2000s list.
Will Ferrell is the dragon, or he makes them be dragon.
Here, I'm going to need something. 2 dragons.
Love it.
What would you say is your favorite stoner comedy of all time?
I gotta go with Dazed and Confused. I think that, well, Pineapple Express is unbelievable and so fun and one of my favorite comedies of all time, and I've watched it more times. But Dazed and Confused, when I watch it, it feels like it's the perfect portrayal of teen life in American neighborhoods, of just partying, having fun with your friends. School's out forever. And you see all these scenes, there's no plot, but it feels, because we grew up at a time where when school's out, when it's summertime, you're with your friends all day, every day.
You're riding your bikes everywhere.
Yeah, you're going all over the place. You're going to stores together. You're going to like get lunch or dinner together.
You're throwing rocks off stop signs. You're jumping off bleachers. It's getting crazy out there.
Yeah, you're doing everything together, and your parents don't really know what's going on. They're just like, I'll see you guys, and then we'll just be at like Marco's house that night and be like, hey, Mom, we're sleeping at Marco's, and then they'll be like, okay, see you tomorrow.
Now all these kids are tracked by their parents 24/7.
But they don't even. But kids are experiencing social life online. Is the main difference. So that they're not really doing that like they used to. I feel lucky to grow up in that generation where we would just be gone and who knows what would happen. And you would sometimes be like, oh, one of your friends, you'd be hanging out with like a group of small group of friends, and then be like, oh, there's this party we heard about. Then you go to the party, and then the party's like filled with a ton of kids and all sorts of bad stuff that underage kids shouldn't be doing. But that's just part of childhood and part of growing up. Especially in this culture.
Like teenage years.
Yeah,
you
teenage
keep saying
years.
Kids in childhood.
Well, I'm sorry. When I think of teenagers...
I'm like, when I was 13, were we getting into that kind of trouble?
When I think of a 16-year-old, I think they look like a kid to me.
Yeah.
When you're in high school... No, when you're in middle school and you look at high schoolers, they look like grown-ups.
Yeah.
And they look like adults. But then when you're a grown-up in your 20s or 30s, and then you look at high schoolers, you're like, they look like babies. And it's like, you can't believe that you had that in your mind when you were younger, that they look so grown up.
Except for that one kid who's hit puberty way too early.
6'2",
and he's
220.
Full beard.
Yeah.
Could literally beat the fuck out of you.
Dominates football. Yeah, no competition. But Dazed and Confused, it really captured that magic. And even though it's a period setting, you can still relate to it no matter what era you grew up in, where there was more freedom as a young person, not like the 50s or 40s. And when I see that movie, I feel like this is really like a slice of life of the culture.
That Richard Linklater, that's kind of his MO, is getting a slice of reality in his films. And obviously he did that with Boyhood, bringing the reality of a person's life into, a 10-year journey for a feature-length film, filming it over 3 different periods of time, over 10 years. He just announced his next film, which will take 20 years to film, starring Paul Mescal.
Really?
He just got added in. And so I can't remember what it's called, but it's going to be a 20-year filming process to make one of his next movies.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool.
I made a funny tweet where I responded to that by saying, I posted a photo.
The Truman Show?
I posted a photo of a newborn baby, and I wrote, Richard Linklater has cast a newborn baby to play Truman Burbank in his upcoming project, The Truman Show. It will last about 77.28 years.
That's funny.
But it's really interesting the things he does. He's a really cool filmmaker when you think about it like that.
He's a wonderful filmmaker.
No one makes movies like Richard Linklater. It's completely unique. and honestly rare in art to do something that takes that long to make over a long period of time, to really grasp the life of a human being or human beings in a full story like that without doing sequels, without recasting or anything like that. Just his one project. It's really fascinating, but he does that with a lot of films. Days Confused is a great example, but obviously a lot of his films kind of speak to that as well, except for some that are just kind of just out there in different genres. But I think he's a really cool director because of stuff like that.
He does it with the Before franchise.
Yeah.
The Before they're not filming every year, but they're filming every 10 years for about 4 months or so. And so I just think what I find fascinating about his filmmaking with those movies, and then with Boyhood, and then with this new Mescal movie, which sounds phenomenal. I can't wait to see that, is his interest in really showing how a character and a human being transforms over time. And not doing it with prosthetics, not doing it with makeup and hair or whatever, but really showing it. And then the thing with Boyhood is you really saw Arquette age. You really saw Hawk age. You really saw the kids age. And it felt like these are real people and real human beings. And the connection you made with them was very strong because of that. And no amount of prosthetics or hair or makeup or whatever can really change that, because you can change how a person looks in their face, but can't change their voice, and then especially the adults and kids, just behavior changes, and everything's about them is a little bit different from the first year to the last year, and yet and also it feels like you're in a way you're experiencing that time change in 2 hours, and you're like growing up with them, but for you it's 2 hours, for them it's 10 years. It's really fascinating.
I will say Ethan Hawke aged like fine wine.
Still looks great. Woo! Yeah.
Other stoner movies that I absolutely adore. Well, actually, my favorite I'll talk about is got to be Pineapple Express.
It's great.
It is endlessly rewatchable for me, and I can quote the hell out of it anytime. I thought hurricane season was over. I think Saul.
Well, Mr. Folgers.
Yeah, we were quoting it the other day. We quote it all the time. It's one of those movies that just crops up in our day-to-day life.
I seen you rip a man's jaw out his face. I seen it.
I had you all over for dinner. Fish tacos. So I just love that movie, and the characters and the cast is so funny.
And I'm sorry, the discovery of Danny McBride. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's amazing in it.
Yeah.
Like, his career catapulted, launched because of Pineapple Express. He'd been in stuff. Like, I think Hot Rod came out around that time too, but this was like what propelled them to like doing like big movies. And then This Is the End he's like one of my favorite scenes of all time for a stoner movie, when he wakes up in the tub and This Is the End with the joint. So goddamn funny.
So Danny McBride, he wrote and starred in this movie called The Foot Fist Way, and he plays a karate instructor. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we watched it back when it came out, and Seth Rogen watched that movie and was like, I gotta cast this guy for Red. That's how we got the role. That's
funny.
What blew him up.
And I just love the character. Saul is like one of my favorite stoner characters of all time. He got a Golden Globe nomination for that film, and it's just ridiculously funny, so silly, but it's just really actually a well-written movie. The structure's fine. The structure's solid, but like the dialogue is great. The jokes, every single one of them lands for me. The situations are funny and ridiculous. Every act is great. It's got a solid ending and climax. I just adore Pineapple Express.
Shine shoes?
Car radio. So boring.
That script was originally written to have Seth Rogen play Saul, and then to have James Franco play Dale. That was how they originally cast it.
That would not have worked.
And I believe they must have been doing tests and script read-throughs or whatever, and Seth Rogen realized, James Franco would be a much better Saul. And so they flipped roles, and you can imagine the film not working at all if Franco was the straight one and Seth Rogen was really playing the wild card.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't have worked, because Seth Rogen's funny, but not enough to steal the show character performance-wise. Because Seth Rogen's, I mean, I love the guy, but he's not really like becoming different people, especially in those movies. You know what I mean? Whereas Franco can really transform into the person. And Franco also fought for the wardrobe, so he wears like those cool pants with like that interesting pattern.
The sweatpants.
They wanted him to wear Adidas sweatpants with the white stripes down the side, and something else. But he fought for those pants, and it was like a big disagreement between him and the writers and Rogen. But then they finally gave in. We're like, okay, do that. And the long hair as well, he fought for.
He's always lingering.
Ironically, I don't believe James Franco has ever smoked weed before.
Yeah, maybe not. But I love that movie. It cracks me up so much. Another great one is Friday. This one's a classic. Craig, I'm gonna get you high today. You ain't got no job. You ain't got.
How do you get fired on your day off?
It's so funny, but also really solid life lessons by the third act of this film.
Yeah.
But I just love the characters, and Chris Tucker is just a lightning bolt on camera. He was just destined to be a movie star, and I think it's impossible not to recognize the talent of Chris Tucker when you watch movies like this, because Ice Cube's fine in this movie. Everyone else is solid in this movie, but Chris Tucker just is the movie. He steals every single scene of this film. Every time he's talking, I'm just listening so intently and just gut-busting laughing. I love the guy so much, but Friday is a classic because of Chris Tucker.
And then my number 2 is Lebowski. The Big Lebowski is just such a legend of a movie. And Jeff Bridges, his infectious personality, it felt like it was such a Jeff Bridges, like he's so similar to what that person is like in real life. And what the Coens did, their comedy, their drama, their ridiculous story, excellent writing. John Goodman is perfect opposite of Lebowski.
John.
John.
It was like John Goodman.
Did I say? It's the smoke. It's getting in my. It's getting in me.
I'm getting a little throat scratchy too.
So much smoking, brah.
Hopefully it's not toxic.
But Lebowski, every time I watch it, it's one of those movies that just get better, no matter how many times you've seen it. And I mean, Jeff Bridges is. I think that Lebowski is the greatest stoner in film history, and I don't think it's even close. I love Saul. Saul's awesome, but Lebowski is the peak of it. Like,
yeah, I
without
mean,
a doubt.
Saul's more goofy and silly,
Yeah.
whereas Lebowski is just epitomizes the embodiment of a stoner, just couch potato, just slacking
The
by.
lifestyle,
The slacker.
yeah,
The
yeah.
slacker. He's in the bathrobe, the sandals,
jellies.
everything about him. It's just the ultimate slacker stoner, and he's just enjoys the hell out of his life. And that's it. That's all he needs. But as soon as someone pisses on his rug, then he has to get some answers for that situation. But other than that, he doesn't really do anything besides go bowling, drive around, have a White Russian, and he's just very happy that way.
Yeah, it's a wonderful film. It's one of my favorite. It's a great LA movie too.
The dude.
It's the dude, man.
The dude, man.
But what a terrific LA movie. If you live in LA long enough, you watch Lebowski, you're like, oh my god, this is so LA. This is like every set, every location, every street. It's perfect. And then another one that I love is Inherent Vice, Paul Thomas Anderson's film.
Such an underrated movie.
It's based off the writer Crichton. I can't remember his first name. And Joaquin Phoenix collaborated with him for the second time after The Master. He plays a PI, but a stoner PI. And he's on this crazy, ridiculous, weaving, complex storyline that's like impossible to follow. And it's so funny and weird. And, PTA is just having complete control of what he's doing and just making the kind of movie that he wants to make. And my favorite part of the film is there's this shootout. And obviously PTA wouldn't film a shootout like anyone else. He does it his own way. By the end of the shootout, Joaquin's on the top of the steps of like a stairwell, and the enemy is down a couple of floors. They fire off a few rounds, and then Joaquin just sticks his head out. He's like, did I get you? But he's always smoking in pretty much every single scene he's smoking, and it's terrific. He's got these giant mutton chops, and sometimes he tries to blend in with certain kinds of people in society, and it's so obvious that he's just some hippie. And Josh Brolin is amazing in that film too. He's terrific.
I love when Joaquin's in the car with Josh Brolin's character and he's watching him eat that chocolate covered banana. And he's like going to town on it.
He's like deep throating it.
he's choking on it.
He gags on it.
So damn funny. There's still so many stoner movies to talk about, but how about we'll run to our intermission?
Oh yeah.
And then we will get back to the stoner movies. But before we continue, make sure to get tickets to our live show. It's coming up very, very soon, Saturday, January 21st. That's this Saturday. That's bonkers.
This Saturday.
5 days will be our live show. The tickets are still available for coming in person in Los Angeles to the Dynasty Typewriter at the Hayworth Theater. You can get those tickets at dynastytypewriter.com. Just go on the calendar. You'll find us on January 21st, or the link in all of our bios will take you to the live show tickets. But if you can't make it to LA and you still want to watch our live show, our first ever live event online, you can get tickets from moment.co/Raiders of the Lost. I'll put links to these ticket options as well in the description of the episode for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube as well. Wherever you're listening and watching this podcast, the ticket links will be right at the top of the description of the episodes. We cannot wait to have this experience with people in person, but if you're watching online, you can also interact with us while we're on stage, and you will be watching the broadcast live. It's going to be so much fun. It's going to be the ultimate experience. We've never done anything like this. Hopefully, we can start to do more things like live shows and live events, but we have it scheduled for 12 p.m. Pacific time on a Saturday, so that it's 3 p.m. Eastern time on the East Coast of the United States. It's 8 p.m. in the UK, and then it's 7 a.m. in Australia. This way that everyone around the world, we have fans everywhere, can tune into the show as it's happening live. We're so excited about it. And the best way to support Raiders of the Lost podcast is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost podcast. We have 5 different tiers to become a patron: $2, $5, $10, $25, and $100. Each tier gets you a set of amazing perks. Patreon allows us to do the show full time, so thank you so much for the support around the world.
This episode is sponsored by our friends at movieposters.com, the #1 place to get your movie posters online today. Don't forget to use our special promo code Raiders10 to get 10% off your order right now. Movieposters.com has a huge selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their poster library, as well as all sorts of options like sizes, framing, and all sorts of backlighting for your poster needs. Whatever you want for a movie poster, they got you covered. If there's a movie fan in your life you want to get a gift for, if you want to deck out your house with a bunch of posters like James and I have, the best place is at movieposters.com. Head on over to the website and be sure to use our promo code Raiders10 to get a 10% discount today. All right, let's get into our intermission, Jim.
Yeah, and I don't know if anyone can hear, but it's raining pretty hard in Los Angeles right now. So if you hear any raindrops, that's what that noise is. It's not like spa tones or anything like that, or peaceful room noises of the jungle.
I love the sound of rain.
Me too. All right, movie release year is the first.
Nope.
No.
Quote.
Movie quote
Did you really
competition.
smoke?
I think I really did smoke. Something about these fumes, man. I feel like
It throws you off. It definitely does.
it does throw you off. All right, movie quote competition. You ready?
Ready?
D. Substance D. D is dumbness and despair, desertion and desertion of you from your friends from you, everyone from everyone, isolation and loneliness, and hating and suspecting each other. D is finally death, slow death from the head down. Well, that's it.
I don't know.
A Scanner Darkly.
Oh, nice. Good movie.
Really cool. Drug movie.
Was that Downey's lines?
That is Fred, which is Keanu.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That was an early Downey Revolution rise movie.
Right.
2005, 2006.
Something like that.
All right, here's my quote.
It's a Trip B movie. They rotoscoped the entire thing. They filmed it, then rotoscoped it, animated.
Yeah, it's super cool. They started eating each other until there were only 2 left. The 2 survivors. And then what? Do you kill them? No, you take them and release them into the trees. But now they don't eat coconut anymore. Now they only eat rat. They have changed their nature. 2 survivors. This is what she made us.
What a great quote. I'll give everyone a moment. Skyfall.
Correct.
Great quote. All right. Movie release year. Trainspotting.
1996.
Correcto.
Thanks, guy. Here's mine. Road to Perdition.
Relevant film, Prohibition movie. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's definitely why I picked it.
2006?
2002.
Man, is that old? Holy crap.
It's an early Daniel Craig role.
Yeah. He plays the son.
Yeah,
right?
he plays Paul Newman's son. Super
Really
early
good movie.
Yeah.
Movie pop quiz time, sir. Who directed A Scanner Darkly?
Was it Linklater?
Correct.
Yes.
Richard Linklater.
Nice. Thought so. It's very different from anything else in his
Yeah.
filmography.
I almost said it earlier when we were talking about him. I'm like, oh, that's my pop quiz question.
Here's my quiz question. Sam Mendes directed John Krasinski and Maya Rudolph in what film?
John Krasinski and Maya Rudolph. What movie are they in together?
The Sam Mendes movie. And they're the leads, the two leads.
Huh.
Oh, you never seen this?
I guess not. It's not the football movie, no.
No, that's Clooney.
Did Clooney direct that one?
He did.
Krasinski and Maya Rudolph. It has to have been probably a while ago.
It was quite a few years
Because
ago.
Maya,
Yeah.
she still does like some stuff, but she's not in like big movies really anymore. Ever since she left SNL, she was such a good SNL member.
She's one of the best for sure.
Iconic. She could do everything. I don't know.
Away We Go. You never seen it?
I don't think so.
They play a couple.
Oh yes, where he's got the beard, right?
He has a beard. She's pregnant, and they're traveling the country looking for a place to raise a family.
Yeah, yeah.
And they encounter all sorts of quirky people along the way.
I've seen that.
I'm sure you have.
I said the beard thing. We watched it together, I think. You might have shown me it.
Probably. Maybe you've just seen the poster.
All right. Anyways, I have seen it. There's a scene on a college campus. There's a professor involved and another woman.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I've seen it, bruh.
Maggie Gyllenhaal's in it.
Yes.
She plays, I believe it's his sister-in-law or sister. And it's funny, her and her husband are raising their two little kids in like this really weird naturalistic way where they all share one bed. Even the kids, it's just like a giant bed. And they'll even have they'll have sex in front of the kids. They don't do it in the movie, but like they talk about it.
They're like, why make love in front of my children? I like the line where she's like, someone's like, why don't you get a stroller for your baby? She's like, why would I want to push my child away?
Yeah.
I want to hold them close to me.
Yeah.
I've seen it, bro.
You have seen it. Wow, I'm
Proved you
impressed.
wrong.
I'm impressed.
All right. Do we have any haters besides you?
Yeah, we got a few. All right, we got Aurelius79. Wait, you're actually honest on this podcast? Unsubscribe. JK, love your work and your respect for everyone's opinions. The subjectivity of film is one of my favorite things about it. Thanks, pal. Then we have Johnny Depp in the truffle chicken tendy spotlight. Unsubscribed from Zoink Zaddy.
Yeah, we talked about truffles and chicken tendies a little too much. It was a long episode, but it was fun.
Zoink Zaddy also wrote, I think you talked about truffle more than you did Johnny Depp. Mike Filler, 6842. Hey, I'm early this time. Great job on the video, guys, as always, but I can't believe you forgot to mention Johnny Depp's major role that influenced so many people in the amazing movie Freddy's Dead, where he played the guy on TV. So I gotta unsubscribe. We have a real hater.
Oh, real? Yeah, I got a couple on Twitter, too.
So Randy D. Hoff wrote on our Top Gun review, every part I skipped to in this video seems they are talking about every movie but Maverick. Next.
What?
So, also the grammar's terrible. I kind of cleaned it up. They wrote, every part I skipped into this videos seems they are talking about every movie but Maverick. So I'm guessing that Randy just opened our review of Top Gun and just kept scrolling to different parts, listening for about two or 3 seconds, and then said we're talking about every movie but Maverick. So
he probably went to the intermission.
Maybe. Well, he said he skipped to multiple parts. So I wrote...
That makes no sense.
I wrote, it might help to not skip and actually listen to our conversation.
It's an hour and 50 minutes on Top Gun Maverick with our intermission, yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure...
We talk about Tom Cruise quite a bit in that movie.
I'm pretty sure we pretty much only talked about Top Gun Maverick.
We discussed...
Sure.
There's a good amount of that episode where we talked about Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, there wasn't any truffle talk in that one.
The majority.
Yeah.
We were focused on that one.
Oh, yeah.
What a hater.
Randy... I don't think they were ever subscribed, but...
Unsubscribe. I got some real haters on our Twitter account because
Twitter's toxic. Huh?
I made a
a
highly engaging tweet that I knew would make controversial. I knew would make some people really upset because obviously you have to have the same opinion as everybody, right? If you have a different
L take.
Yeah, I got a bunch of those. Worst take of all time because I wrote Batman Begins is greater than the Batman. In a tweet, just like, the greater than sign. I love the Batman. You all know that. I have the Batman art book. I adore that movie.
You have a 4-foot tall poster in your room of the Batman.
I look at it every day. Love that movie. But I like Batman Begins more. So that's what, I think that's a better movie for me.
How dare you?
It's a better movie for me. And that doesn't take anything away from the Batman because I thought it was brilliant. I just think Batman Begins is a misunderstood and I mean, underrated.
It's
Borderline
not it's not misunderstood
Very
or
underrated.
It's an 8.5 on IMDb.
Is
It's
it?
it's got a great rating.
Is it that high?
It's up there, man.
Hold on. I don't think it's that high.
It's up there.
No way, Jose.
Way.
8.2.
8.2. Still
There's
a
a big
great
difference, though.
Hey, still a great rating.
That's a great rating.
That's a better rating than most movies, man.
But the fact that you can't have an opinion than different people to get really upset about it, which I get, I understand, like, that is what it is. But we got a bunch of takes. We got a couple unsubscribes. So
Those are
our friends, the Popcorn Podcast, wrote unsubscribe. I got a L take. Unsubscribed from Mark Sportiello. Holy L. No, close, but no. Nah, this ain't it. What else did we get? A bunch of people agreed. And then
I agree.
someone wrote no. Probably the worst take of all time.
Really?
There's definitely worse takes than that, let's be honest. But got a couple of haters, a couple of great unsubscribers.
Hey, I agree with you, but if someone likes the Batman better, good for them.
I'm
Cool
That's
with me.
awesome. Not an L take at all. That is
Yeah.
a W take in my opinion.
Yeah. You like what you like.
You like what you like. Twitter, man, it's so toxic.
I like how people just repeat the same comments that you've seen 1,000 times.
Well, the thing is, I think Twitter, a lot of people get in their opinions from Twitter, from TikTok, and they're just making sure they're part of like the majority of an opinion.
Yeah.
Or because I think recency bias plays a huge factor in films that come out, especially something like the Batman. Everyone's like, a lot of people I've seen, it's the best superhero movie of all time for them, or the best Batman movie, and I think it's great, but it's not better than The Dark Knight. There's no way, but it's still amazing.
Oh yeah. Well, we were talking the other day how there's like this recency bias where people will see a movie, like this year I've seen it so many times. People will see a movie and then walk out saying that's the greatest movie I've ever seen. It's like you gotta maybe
Sit on it.
just a few
couple viewings.
couple viewings before you could say. I feel like you could say that. I mean, I know you might feel strong about it, but it's so knee-jerk reactionary these days in the film culture climate where it's like also the competition thing where it's like when you watch a movie, it's like this has to be the best of whatever list, or it has to be the best of this genre, or it has to win the Oscar, or it has to be the best of all time. It's like we're constantly like competing, putting movies against each other and making competition. Like, why can't you just say, like, so you and I like to say, this is my favorite movie of this genre, or this is one of my favorite movies of the last couple of years.
I'm not quite a bit.
I don't like saying this is the best movie of the year, or like this is the best movie of the century. I'll be like, this is my favorite movie of the century.
I think Dune was the best movie last year.
Shut up. But I don't know. But you didn't say it was the best movie of all time.
Oh no, I didn't. I don't even have it in my top 75. You know, I need to sit on it for a few years.
And for me, for my top movies, my favorite movies of all time, I had to watch them all many times before I finally made that decision, and also watched a lot of other movies too. And also, I feel like a lot of younger people don't watch old movies at all. And so anything made before 1990, they can maybe name 5 movies. And they're not watching anything from the 60s. They're not watching anything from the 50s, especially the 40s where, you know, movies really came into their own. Or in 70s, they'll probably like know the Godfathers and the Star Wars movies. But, I mean, other than that, they haven't probably seen much of those. So I think I don't know, we're in this climate where people just want to say right away, as quickly as possible, this is the best thing ever.
Over the last few years, is there anything that's in like the top 50 all time? I would say something like
I have one.
What?
Parasite.
Parasite's top.
But I watched it 4 times before I said that.
But still, there's movies I think that are just so underrated. Like The Master is such a great movie. That was what, 2015? Blade Runner 2049, that's up there for me too. That's 2017. I think that's just a terrific masterpiece of filmmaking. That's in my top 100 of all time for sure. I'd have to go through. I have to like look at some lists, but obviously there have been some great movies that we've been spoiled with the last several years. But very few that you're like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen, like hands down. But it's a tremendous experience. But
yeah. I mean, I feel like people are walking out of a movie. Yeah, it's awesome that you loved it, but to just say something's the best thing ever, and it's been 10 minutes since you watched it. I mean, I think that's kind of silly.
I think like something like Dunkirk is one of the best war movies ever made.
Oh,
That's a recent film.
But I had to watch it a couple of times to really determine that.
I get that for sure. Would you say The Revenant is like an all-time movie?
The Revenant is up there. I don't think I would put it in my top 100 though.
Mad Max Fury Road, that's a top 100 movie.
I'd say Mad Max is an all-timer.
That's an all-time
it's
movie,
an
but that's
all-timer.
2018.
Yeah.
2015.
Older than-
2015. Holy
that,
crap.
yeah.
I'm just running through like recent lists, but there's a ton.
But I didn't walk out of Mad Max saying that's the best movie of all time. I walked out of it saying that was insane and one of the most incredible action movies I've ever seen. But then you watch it a few more times, you're like, okay, yeah, you know what? I've seen it a bunch. I'm thinking about it in comparison to the other films of that genre or other ones similar. And I'm like, you know what? This is tops them.
But it's not Morbius.
Oh, nothing's Morbius.
Anyways, let's get
it's
into more of our intermission that we're gonna get into. That tangent just went on for a little bit, but I think people love that.
yeah.
Well, let's get back on track.
Yeah,
On this day in film history, today is January 16th. Again, our live show is
Wow,
in 5 days.
Whoa.
Woo.
Are you nervous?
Not really. 1962, shooting begins on Dr. No, the very first James Bond film. In 1998, Star Kid came out. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, Star Kid with the guy from The Social Network.
In 2004, Along Came Polly and 21 Grams came out. I think Along Came Polly is such an underrated comedy.
Make it rain.
White chocolate! R.I.P. 2009, Paul Blart Mall Cop came out. In 2015, Foxcatcher came out. That was the Steve Carell, Channing Tatum, Mark Ruffalo movie.
Fun fact, they shot Paul Blart Mall Cop at the mall you and I grew up going to.
Burlington Mall, right?
Mall. They shot it there. We grew up going to that mall.
Happy birthday today to John Carpenter and Lin-Manuel Miranda. My streaming recommendation for the day is going to be In the Mood for Love. This is on HBO Max. It is a Wong Kar-wai film. It is brilliant, beautiful, and absolutely devastating at the same time.
What are you watching next?
What'd you say?
Happy Together.
Happy Together.
It's a great pairing with it.
I will. I'll put it on next.
My streaming recommendation is Lady Vengeance from Park Chan-wook. It's crazy, surreal, ultra-violence, revenge saga, as only he could do it, on Criterion Channel. I loved it.
Let's get back into our best stoner movies of all time episode and talk about some others.
We have a chosen one.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
We have a shout-out for patron.
Who we got?
Nick Martin became
Nick!
a chosen one patron.
Our guy. He's also a producer on the short film.
Yeah.
Just a great friend of the show. So active in the Discord, on social media. We love you, Nick. You're the best. Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, he's been a patron and Godfather patron for a long time, and then he upped to chosen one. So very happy and glad to have you on board. And
so he's going to get a private watch party, and in
Yeah.
3 months he gets to come on the show.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be super exciting.
It's gonna be
Did he
insane.
pick a movie yet?
Yeah, it's this Japanese film he's been trying to get me to watch. I keep forgetting to, so we're going to watch that.
Cool. What's it called? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
All right. No worries. Cannot wait to
Stop it with the 21 questions.
Let's move back into the.
What day are you gonna do? Are we doing it?
What socks are you wearing today? Was I sure you? Back into the stoner episode. Let's talk about some others. How about Harold and Kumar go to White Castle?
yeah.
I'd never heard of White Castle Burger before,
Yeah, we didn't grow up near one.
and I'd never had it before. And then this movie came out, and then I started seeing it at the grocery store in the frozen section. They actually started selling. They probably did. I just never noticed it.
Yeah.
The little mini White Castle burgers. You get a box of 4. Obviously, they're not as good as I'm sure going in
But
person.
there have been times where I've been, smoking the devil's lettuce, and I've been like, I want to get White Castle burgers.
nuking some of those up.
Yeah, put them in the microwave.
Absolutely delicious.
The
But
chopped up onions on
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
But Harold Kumar, it's such a great little saga franchise of stoner movies now. We have great cast members. We have Cal Penn and John Cho, who just have great chemistry together. And then Neil Patrick Harris shows up. Bobby Lee. It's just Ryan Reynolds has cameos in them as well. He plays the male nurse in that movie.
Yes.
But I think
Because I'm sorry, what's the actor's name who plays Kumar?
who Cal Penn?
Cal Penn was in Van Wilder.
That's right. Yeah.
That's
I
why.
forgot about
That's
that.
why Ryan Reynolds has that cameo.
But I love Harold and Kumar. They're so damn funny, and just two stoners who aren't quite hitting their potential in life. Well, at least Kumar hasn't. And Harold, he's a more responsible.
Well, because his
person.
dad's made him responsible.
Yeah, so he's the
a
more
doctor
responsible of
because
the
his,
duo.
his dad forced him to be a doctor. basically.
Kumar's kind of like the wild card, but
Yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris is the real wild card. These movies are hilarious. They're so funny, just like an endless adventure of shenanigans, just like most stoner movies should be.
The MPH scenes in the first one are ridiculous. They're insane. Dookie Howser.
It's like the end of this was an era of raunchy comedies that were still getting made, where it's like the perfect amount of comedy, the perfect amount of bad writing, as well as the perfect amount of nudity, and it had a little bit of everything.
American Pie, Euro Trip, the road trip.
They all had the same sauce, the same recipe.
Yeah, and it doesn't work anymore though. That's for sure.
Not because of Twitter.
It definitely doesn't work anymore.
An interesting one is Super High Me. So remember Super Size Me?
Yes.
Where what was that guy's name who ate nothing but McDonald's?
Oh yeah.
Or was it fast? Was it only McDonald's? I think
it was McDonald's for
30 days straight for every single meal, and to see the health effects it would have on his body, and obviously it was not good. Apparently he had serious health conditions because of it afterwards.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, he's eating fast food. He knew it was going to happen. But someone did it with marijuana. So comedian
Isn't that just a stoner?
Comedian Doug Benson conducted an experiment for 30 days where he smoked weed all day, every day, constantly, continuously, and then measured the effects on his body afterwards. And his physician said that really nothing changed except he gained some 8 pounds of weight, and he was just worse at math.
I mean, that sounds like a dumb experiment. Not gonna lie,
it was a movie. I mean, I'm sure he made money off of it.
I could have told you that's what would happen.
Yeah, so he gained 8 pounds and a significant decrease in his ability to do mental mathematics.
Yeah, sounds about right.
So yeah, you just hide.
I mean, I know people like that.
It's just
been doing that for 20 years.
It's just a dude. He's just living. He's
Just a
living
stoner,
a good life.
You know who one of my favorite stoners in movies, though? It's not a stoner movie, but True Romance with Chaz.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt's character is so funny.
Is it Chaz? I thought it was Floyd.
Floyd. Have
you seen
Floyd's
it?
great. Floyd's great. It's all the smoke, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But Spicoli's up there, too.
Spicoli.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
It's not really a stoner movie,
Yeah.
but he's the best part.
He is the stoner part, the stoner element. But I would call it a stoner movie because one of the main characters is a stoner, him. And he is hysterical, infectious, steals every scene he's involved in. And it's the perfect portrayal of the hippie, surfer, smoker. It was terrific. I love it.
I really like Knocked Up.
Knocked Up's good.
This was an early Judd Apatow film. It was, we were just getting exposed to his 2.5-hour dramedies. And this was a really big one. This whole entire crew, they've all become successful actors and really famous, but this was one of the early ones for them because obviously Seth Rogen was the lead with Katherine Heigl. But we have Jay Baruchel is in this, as well as, what's his name from How I Met Your... Jason Segel from How I Met Your Mother.
This was before
films.
Pineapple Express.
2004, 2005. The cast is absolutely stacked.
2007.
It's a pretty good story, too, where Seth Rogen's character obviously gets Katherine Heigl's character pregnant, but he's not obviously the ideal guy who she thought she would want to fall in love with.
Remember the posters of him it was a close-up of Rogen with this funny look on his face, I guess so. And the tagline was, imagine if this guy knocked you up.
Yeah.
That was the tagline. But Bill Maher has a great little podcast interview show now on YouTube where he has really cool guests on. He had Judd Apatow and Tarantino on a couple weeks ago.
Together?
So cool. You got to check it out. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's on YouTube. Just search it. And it was a great 20-minute conversation. And they've actually become pals, Apatow and Tarantino. But what happened was Tarantino was casting Inglourious Bastards at the same time that Apatow was casting Funny People. And Tarantino said, "You took all the good Jews," because he wrote the Bear Jew for Adam Sandler. But then he wanted
that's right, I forgot about that.
Tarantino was saying he wanted all the A-list Jews for his movie, but Funny People got cast first and took a lot. And Tarantino was like, "You took all the good Jews from me." It's really funny.
It's a good joke. Paul Rudd is great in this movie. Leslie Mann. Jonah Hill, obviously. Jonah Hill is terrific in this movie. Martin Starr. So all
the roommates.
Yeah,
it's great.
All these actors and actresses are all huge now, and the movie's terrific. The cast is great, but really some great dramatic beats and moments.
Like all Apatow movies,
the consequences of what's going to happen to two people who barely know each other, and then they get pregnant. And I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people, and a lot of families have started like that, including the Deveneys. But
you work at E.
Mr. Skin? Mr. Skin.
Oh, yeah.
But this movie's also full of a ton of weed smoking and
Yeah,
pot
a ton,
smoking,
yeah.
and I think.
Well, I mean, the earthquake happens and he saves his bong before he takes his bong and runs out, and she's like, "What about me?"
So this is one of my favorite stoner comedies of all time, and I think it's just a great movie that a lot of people can relate to in their own personal lives in real life.
Oh, I totally agree. I think
that's something that Apatow does really well, is he taps into realism today and just like the culture that we're currently living in like real situations.
He always adds a great amount of heart to his films too. There's an emotional center. 4-Year-Old Virgin has it can be quite sad and tragic at times.
Yeah, don't worry, we won't let you get there.
I shouldn't even bring it up anymore. I shouldn't even bring it up.
You set yourself up every time. It's not sad, Anthony. You're fine. You're normal. You're a normal guy. You don't have to have sex.
It is still funny.
Every time.
I love Rogan in that movie. Just ask questions. That's how you talk to women. Just ask questions. Yeah, it's still funny. This Is the End is also, it's kind of like a culmination of that group of actors, you know,
of where they became,
yeah,
where they went.
Yeah, but because you hadn't seen them all in a movie together
since Knocked Up.
Yeah, are they all in Knocked Up?
Pretty much.
Well,
even
Franco's not in Knocked Up.
Just Franco, but even Craig Robinson's in Knocked Up too.
But Danny McBride's not in
okay, and not Danny McBride.
Yeah, so this Is the End is like the whole crew, and obviously the main crew is McBride, Baruchel, Franco, Craig Robinson, Seth Rogen, and Jonah Hill. But everybody else shows up in some regard throughout the especially the first act.
Jason Segel has a cameo in the opening
Michael
too.
Cera.
This Is the End is one of my favorite comedies this century. It's so gut-busting funny because all these actors and actresses, they're playing themselves. Everyone's playing themselves in this movie. And especially the main cast, they're playing kind of the caricatures of what is made fun of them by each other and by audiences, what they think about them, just playing the most, whether it's pretentious artists for Jonah Hill and James Franco, or just like I'm Seth Rogen, stoner Seth Rogen, Jay Baruchel, who like
McBride being the wild card.
Yeah, it's just great them all playing funny versions of themselves and just not taking it too seriously. But also, it's just so funny. I love post-apocalyptic movies, but what happens when you make a post-apocalyptic film, mix it with a bunch of stoner actors, and a great freaking concept? And I love every minute of that movie. Makes me die laughing. The great nods to horror movies and The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. It's just so goddamn funny.
Channing Tatum.
Channing Tatum.
More like Channing Tatum.
I love him.
I fucking eat people, man.
Get off my...
I'm a cannibal now.
Peace.
It's terrific. It's really a fantastic comedy.
Can I get some of that Milky Way? Well, here's the thing. I have sort of a low blood sugar thing.
Who jacks off to magazines? I like to read.
Fucking nerd. Dumping loads all over. Dumping loads like a dump truck.
Oh my god. And McBride has a great character entrance.
It's amazing. Where
Great
he's like, I made breakfast for you all. Danny's here. He's eating all the food. He drank our water twice, 2 times.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
I need some water to wash down this dry ass Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh my god, I love that movie. My favorite part might be when Franco he sacrifices himself to save the others, and and the light beam takes him, and he's slowly rising, and he shouts down to McBride, "Suck my dick,
fuck you!"
And then the light shuts off, and he falls down. It's so funny. It's so funny.
That movie's brilliant, but they have a great opening stoner sequence where I think it's fun when movies do like kind of like the drug sequence in a different way, where Rogen and Baruchel are just like
that's Pineapple. Wait, no, I'm sorry, I'm mixed up.
Let me continue.
Sorry,
yeah, you're a good man. Where where he comes to LA and he like has the whole layout of like J's spelled with a J, spell a J. J's, it says J. He's like, you have a 3D TV. He's like, yeah, man, I did it. I did it, man.
I think the best opening is gonna be in Pineapple, the black and white opening in the 60s with Bill Hader Bill Hader testing weed for the first time and being examined, and oh my god, it was so hilarious. Movies like that, like great comedies like that, you're in a theater filled with 200 people and everybody is laughing out loud. It's so funny. It's amazing.
I'm depressed that they kind of disappeared.
I can't remember the last comedy I saw in a theater.
Pineapple Express is one of the funniest movie theater experience, maybe the funniest movie theater experience I've ever had in my entire life. It was a packed crowd. Everyone was laughing. Not to mention, every time I've watched this movie, I still laugh. But that opening, never seen anything.
This is the bee's knees. We got to get it out there.
I feel like a slab of butter melting on top of a big old pile of flapjacks. We got to let the people know.
Gotta
Item 9 is the bee's knees. with the scuba outfit.
The diver suit comes in.
But, like, that was such a great movie theater experience that I miss having those because, like we've been talking about, they're still funny movies, but when was the last time you went to the movie theater to see a straight-up comedy? Game night? Like, it's been a while.
I didn't see Game Night in theaters, though.
I didn't, but, like...
The Night Of was, like, the last big comedy I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I mean... I don't know, man. And in the last 10 years, I mean, well, actually, Wolf of Wall Street's older than that, but like Wolf of Wall Street's still
2013.
It's still like one of the funniest movies of the last decade. Wolf of Wall Street.
I miss going to movies knowing that you're going to experience a great comedy, but obviously there have been plenty of movies that aren't superhero movies with the one-liners that are still really funny, and I still laugh. A lot of great horror movies lately have had great humor as well, but I miss just having...
It does seem like a genre that's gone.
I miss having
theaters.
a stacked lineup every year of comedies. Every year there's always a handful of comedies as well as a bunch of bad ones, but a handful of great comedies that you could expect to have a huge box office, a huge theater attendance, and have a great time at the theaters just watching.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then
I miss it.
A lot of big studios they've gotten wise and like they've hired comedy actors for big movies. You know, I mean, Paul Rudd is Ant-Man. You know, I mean, he's a terrific comedic actor. And he brought that to the MCU because everyone else was more of like action first and then comedy.
Well, the one-liners.
Yeah.
They all kind of had
They could do it, but like they weren't like naturally funny like Paul Rudd is just like so infectiously hilarious.
Then Thor Ragnarok had that tonal shift we've talked about so many times where, you know, Hemsworth has great natural comedy and charisma.
But Ant-Man, the first Ant-Man is one of the funniest Marvel movies without a doubt.
Well, Edgar Wright wrote that first script. That's why.
And then Adam McKay wrote the final draft with Paul Rudd. They wrote
the Marvel approved draft.
Yeah.
The MCU approved draft. I would love to read the Edgar Wright version or at least just see that movie. Imagine, that would have been a terrific film.
Yeah,
Ant-Man's pretty good, but like if Edgar Wright was able to write and direct it with his creative freedom, that would have been incredible.
Yeah, and he did cast Paul Rudd. He's the one who cast Paul Rudd as Ant-Man.
I guarantee it could have had the potential of being like a top 5 Marvel movie, MCU movie.
I really would have liked to see his approach to the directing of the sequences, especially the shrinking. It seemed to be, you know, perfectly suited to his style of filmmaking.
You can tell some of the scenes were clearly his ideas. Like I love the train battle where they're on top of the train toy set and the comedic cutting back and forth from away from the train set as a normal human, and it just looks like a little toy set, and then cutting back to them as tiny little ants and wasps on top of it. It's like explosions and like it's like a real train with train noises. So you clearly know that Edgar Wright wrote that into the script for sure because it's such an Edgar Wright sequence.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what's interesting is the comedy genre. Like a lot of like the funniest movies nowadays, they are not strictly comedies. Like Wes Anderson movies, like Grand Budapest Hotel, hilarious, but it's not like a comedy. The Nice Guys was very funny. Lady Bird is really funny, but I wouldn't call it a comedy.
Actually, so Nice Guys, I would say, is the last comedy maybe I saw in theaters. Was that 2018, 17?
Nice Guys was 16.
Wow, my God.
Yeah. I mean, The Big Short is very funny, but it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was very funny.
But it's not a comedy.
Yeah, not a comedy. Exactly. So it seems as though...
I'm sure we're missing some exceptions.
But I'm talking like none of these movies are just a comedy. Like Lady Bird's not, you wouldn't call it a comedy. It's a dramatic comedy. And I can't think of anything that is just a comedy in the last 10 years. It seems like the comedy genre is really gone.
Uncharted was a funny movie, which is not what I wanted from an action adventure film. Yeah. That was more funny than it was like an action adventure if you think about it. You never saw that movie, but I was a little disappointed. I was disappointed by that movie because it was such a a long origin story.
Origins.
And they just focus on, like a lot of these studios, they write their scripts, they're very basic, but then they pepper in all the one-liners to make it seem like a great, enjoyable experience, which it still is, but it's not what it could be. Like, that could have been an Indiana Jones franchise.
And then even someone with Taika Waititi, Jojo Rabbit, it's not. It's very comedic, but you wouldn't call it comedy. It's very dramatic, too. The Death of Stalin it's a dark comedy.
That's satire, like
a
film satire.
So yeah, it seems like just comedy as a solo genre on its own is kind of gone from theaters.
It's disappointing. It really is.
I believe it's just gone to kids' films now, like Minions. That's comedy. Seems like
but no, kids' films have always been funny.
Yeah, that's true.
They've always, but it's kind of just like the Marvel movies are now just like the biggest laughs of the year.
Yeah, but it seems like comedy is just half of a movie's genre. It's not going to be just a comedy. It'll be like something / comedy. You know what I mean?
It is what it is. The genre's just been blended.
I feel like we had maybe peak comedy in the
2000s, man.
Might have been peak comedy in film history, honestly.
It's when you could still like kind of say whatever you wanted.
Yeah, we probably grew up with the best time for comedy.
It was like the Wild West.
Yeah,
everyone got it out of their systems.
Yeah, before the internet really took hold, before social media.
That's it. Some other great stoner films. Ted and Ted 2. I thought these were hysterical. So much stoning in this movie. So much pot smoking in this movie.
That's not what the kids say, Jim.
And that's why I invented this episode.
So much stoning?
So much stoning.
Like people murdering people with stones?
Stoning. I thought that's super funny. Plus, Tom Brady has a great cameo in the first one, which
is perfect spiral.
They open up the blanket, it's just like light glowing,
it's gold light. It's like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction.
A ridiculous plot. Seth MacFarlane's such a funny guy. Family Guy is a hilarious show, and just bringing his writing, directing, and acting chops to the big screen was really cool. Even though he's not on camera, he's playing Ted. But Marky Mark he's such a funny guy when he gets to do comedic roles, like. Him and the other guys is really funny as well. Okay,
I am a peacock.
That's a straight up comedy.
Yeah, but that was a while
2014,
ago.
Probably 2015.
Maybe older.
But I think Marky Mark's a hilarious guy with the right script, and it worked so well with him and Ted in the first one. Obviously, they're making a Ted.
2010.
Oh my
the other guys. 2010.
Don't go chasing waterfalls.
I don't know I don't understand. I'm lost.
Man, that makes me feel really old. 13 years old.
Yeah, it's crazy. Step Brothers is almost 15 years old.
2008, right?
2000s. I think it's
Step Brothers. 2008.
Yeah, it might be 2008.
Same year as The Dark Knight.
2008. Yeah.
Two best movies of the year, right?
Good year. Good year. Good year.
Do you have any other stoner movies to talk about?
Yeah, Half Baked with Dave Chappelle.
Okay, yeah.
That was a really good one because Jim Brewer is the other guy, I believe.
Yeah, Jim Brewer's in that.
There's a third guy. Who's the third guy? Bear with me 1 second. Oh, it's just him and Jim Brewer, and then there's another guy, but Jim Brewer is the other lead.
Guillermo Diaz.
Okay, yeah.
Scarface.
And they come up with some like criminal plan that goes wrong, but it is so fun. It really is. You can only enjoy it high. I think that movie. You know, that makes sense?
Well, I mean, no, but I saw the movie when I was young, when I was a kid. When did that come out? 1998. We're 8 years old. We were like 9 years old when we saw that movie.
That's crazy.
My brother showed us, so I had no idea what smoking weed was like.
But it was very funny. It's very funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. It's got a bunch of great lines. It's iconic. It's a cult classic.
And also Dave Chappelle before the world knew who he was.
Pretty much. Also, Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah.
Great stoner comedy. Dude. Bro. No, it's sweet. You have a tattoo. What's it say? Dude.
What's mine say?
Sweet.
What does mine say?
Great comedic duo with
Jennifer
Ashton
Garner.
Kutcher. Yeah, Sean William Scott. Oh yeah, Jennifer Garner. Oh my god.
Yeah, she's Ashton Kutcher's girlfriend.
One of the sisters.
Yeah. No, one of the girlfriends.
Yeah, but they're sisters.
Oh right, they're sisters. Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Wasn't it aliens?
Yeah, they were aliens.
Yeah.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is another solid comedy, stoner comedy.
Clerks
is that a stoner? Yeah, they're in
smoke.
it.
They smoke.
Yeah, but like Jay and Silent Bob was like a stoner movie.
Yeah, they smoke in every scene they're in. Jay and Silent Bob.
I mean, it's like based on the movie that's being made, Blunt Man and Chronic.
Yeah, Mallrats is a stoner movie. I feel like Jason Lee's character smokes a lot.
Is it a stoner movie?
I feel like
Jason Lee's character in Mallrats would love living today because comic books are so big and Marvel's so enormous.
He'd be losing his shit.
Like
Stan Lee made a cameo in that. He has like a full scene in that movie.
Yeah. So like, if his character lived in this era, like it'd be the best time of his life.
There's in the scene, he asks Stan Lee like how crazy it was, like hookup culture in the 60s and 70s, and then Stan Lee goes, me and Mick, we used to have a competition when we used to keep count, but then he lost. He fell behind years ago.
But he keeps pestering Stan Lee about, like, if Superman is Superman and he has sex with Lois Lane, like, what happens when he, shouldn't it kill her?
Because that's talked about in the first
He's
act.
like, your friend's obsessed with superheroes having sex. You should probably see somebody.
Remember the chocolate on his hands?
Yeah.
pretending it was shit.
It's a funny movie.
It is
It
funny.
really is.
Ben Affleck is one of his earliest roles, and he's not good.
He works at the Reasonable Man's store.
Yeah. It's
right?
like a
Is that
suit
what it's
store,
called?
a men's suit store. Yeah.
Something like that.
But his performance is really bad. And it's just amazing to see that he did Good Will Hunting just like a year later.
A couple of years later. This is 95, I think.
Yeah, and how good he was in Good Will Hunting. I think it's just like might have been his first set and was like first movie set and could have been nervous
Maybe
or whatever.
could have been. I'm sure he had some small roles here and there.
Well,
like extras.
he and Matt Damon worked in commercials as kids. They're child actors, but they weren't child actors in movies. They were in commercials a lot.
But they were on sets. They were like as extras and just like very small roles here and there, sprinkled in the early 90s.
For sure.
So they were like kind of working actors before they really hit it big.
But Matt was
legit.
like he was in School Ties.
Yeah.
Matt had it right from the start.
And he's in that Denzel movie too. That was in like 95, 96.
Courage Under Fire.
Yeah, where he plays a drug addict.
He also was in a Coppola movie. He played the lawyer in what's the movie called? It's Coppola, Danny DeVito, and Matt Damon plays the lawyer.
The Rainmaker.
The Rainmaker. Yes, he did that before. He was still in going to college when he made that movie.
Well, it came out the same year as Good Will Hunting in 1997.
They filmed it. They filmed it a lot earlier.
Gotcha.
He said, I read an interview, he said he filmed that and then he dropped out of school thinking that he was going to be set, but then the movie came out and no one was really talking about it, but then Good Will Hunting came out and blew up.
What? Well, hold on. This came out in November 97. Oh, and Good Will Hunting came out December 97. So it's just a month apart.
Yeah,
that might be a little off.
I believe they filmed Rainmaker much earlier than Good Will Hunting. I believe.
Probably.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't that crazy? I mean, you get a Coppola job when you're in fucking Harvard, when you're in college.
Do you know how much Good Will Hunting made box office?
I believe it made a lot. I'm guessing $200 million.
$225 million on a $10 million budget.
Yeah, it was a big
Holy
hit. It was a phenomenon when it came out.
Yeah.
It was a big phenomenon.
That's
it's a great movie.
It really is.
It's a great film.
All right, you got anything else for the stoner movies?
No, I love them, and I don't really watch them as much as I used to, but they were a standard part of our childhood and constant.
Comedy Central was big on stoner culture.
Yeah, it was a constant kind of film genre that we watched a lot. And
I think that was the station, the channel that was always playing
for
stoner
sure.
comedies.
Yes, I think Spike TV would play them too. TBS maybe. But yeah, Comedy Central played a ton of them whenever they could. But man, they really are some of the best comedies of all time for sure.
Well, that wraps our episode on stoner comedies. I'm sure
Far
some
out,
of you stoners probably had a great time listening to this one. Looking at you, Donnie, Dawson,
Jacob.
Is Jacob one?
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. All right. I didn't know he was hitting the devil's lettuce as much as them. That was just the natty ices for those college kids. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode.
Cody too. Cody.
Okay. Everyone's a stoner. Cody, Calvin. Nah, I'm just kidding.
Liv.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of people actually hit the devil's lettuce. I'm glad you enjoy it. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Don't forget to get those live show tickets. The show is in 5 days. Tickets will be on sale until the show. So thanks so much to anyone who's already got your ticket. But don't forget, you can watch anywhere around the world on Saturday with just that moment.co/Raiders of the Lost link to get tickets.
It's going to be a lot of fun, everyone. I think it's going to be a terrific day.
Hopefully.
Definitely.
Take care.
See you next time. This episode of Raiders of the Lost Podcast was executive produced by our chosen one patrons, Luke Exelston, Tyler McFly, Darren Singleton, Anthony DeMeo, Becca Keene, Cody Moen, Benjamin Cook, Calvin Cam, Sal Koching, Nick Martin, and Chandler Johnson. Thank you so much for supporting our show.
Raiders of the Lost podcast is a mirror image production. Sound mixing done by Jacob Kossler. Opening music by Chase Jackson.